Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 2 out of 2 games between Morozik and Sombra in round 1 of the second European tournament. Today we are going to be seeing Omaha, and on the Allied side Morozik is using the 6th Airborne. On the Axis side Sombra is using the 1st SS-Panzer. So I'm surprised to see the 6th Airborne. I'm really hoping that Morozik has a plan up his sleeve, because otherwise I feel like he shot himself in the foot with that division choice, especially up against the 1st SS-Panzer, which is deemed to be one of the best Axis divisions currently available. That mainly comes down to the fact that they do have the abundance of Stugs in Phase A, accompanied by cheap infantry in the VulcanHDGaming. They're just a very good, versatile division that doesn't have many weaknesses throughout the phases. They even get Panther Gs in Phase B. It doesn't really get much better than that. Over on the side of the 6th Airborne, you've got an abundance of elite infantry early on, but not anything too significant to push with unless you rely on Tetrarchs. You've got like Tetrarch CSs, Tetrarch Little John. Those are the sort of things that may be able to help you make a salient, but not something that's going to be very reliable at all. They're going to therefore be accompanied by the elite infantry, which is the Airborne Paras, the Airborne Bren Group, Oxenbucks, Airborne Flamethrowers possibly, although we don't really see them very often. There's all sorts of good stuff that the 6th Airborne can use. It's just not very good compared to what the 1st SS has on the most part. Let's have a look at the units going down on the side of Sombra though. On the top side is going to be the Stug 3, SPW222 with Aufkläder, and the VulcanHDG. And we've got IG-18 there in a 251 and a VulcanHDG, and on the bottom side at the moment just going to be a couple VulcanHDG with the 2-star Pioneerführer. On the bottom side for Morozik, it's going to be a little bit of infantry here supported by the Tetrarch CS. It looks like Morozik is building up a push on the bottom side. For the mid area it's going to be an MG. Further up we see a couple of infantry squads with the command. They could be Airborne Paras, Oxenbucks, Bren Group, anything really. These are Airborne Flamethrowers, and honestly, surprised to see them, but there they are. 2-star veterancy, certainly can get the job done as long as they aren't focused by what they go up against, and just an MG on the top side there to help cover the open ground against Sombra. So in the end, 2 Tetrarch CSs on the bottom side, accompanying an infantry push, and that looks to be Morozik's plan for the most part. Looks like more VulcanHDG have been added to the lineup on the side of Sombra, but we are off, and it's time to see if Sombra can bring a game back against Morozik after Morozik defeated Sombra's 15th Infantry Scots with his 9th Panzer. So off we go. And it looks like a relatively even spread from Sombra. The only major difference on the front line is this Stug placement, and that's just investing a little bit more points into the top side than anywhere else. As for Morozik, a large focus into this town, which is to be expected. Of course, you do have an abundance of decent infantry, and therefore you can utilise that. So we see all 3 different types of infantry here. Airborne Bren Group, Airborne Paras, Oxenbucks. Oxenbucks are basically Airborne Bren Group but with a Piat, and they cost slightly more, like 5 points more for a Piat. And the Tetrarch CS is going to be supporting those. So this is Airborne Vickers. Interesting to see the Vickers actually chosen and used. Often people don't like the Vickers because of its lack of range and HE. But it can definitely pin down squads quickly if they are left in the open, and actually do quite a lot of damage when they're high veterancy. So Sombra is making a bit of a push here with the 20mm autocannon unit supported by the IG-18. 2-star IG-18 can certainly get a lot of work done. Panzerjägerstug, that's going to be taking advantage of its mobility to move down to this bottom side, and that's something that the 6th Airborne certainly lacks, and therefore it's Sombra can take advantage of that, and it's good to see that Stug 3 being reallocated to this bottom side to help support against the Tetrarch CS, I would assume. VulcanHDG though do need to be careful. There's a large potential they could be overran. With that Volksdeutsche being pinned down, the Tetrarch CS has a massive opportunity here to drive on through and find a surrender, and cleaning up those 2 infantry squads on the bottom side could certainly create a nice salient. So off Morozik goes, going to not be fast moving, but just speeding across the open here with the help of the Oxenbucks and just running those down and making some ground. So +1 currently for Morozik, which is to be expected, I think, due to the terrain, but over time Sombra can certainly mount an attack moving into phase B that will be hard for Morozik to deal with. And Morozik's going to be using a Tetrarch here, and it's actually going to come into line of sight of the 232 and the 222. And well, since both of those units aim faster and the Tetrarch only has 3 front armor, the Tetrarch got absolutely obliterated, and that is one massive problem with the Tetrarchs, is they just don't have enough armor to even deal with these 20mm autocannon units, and the fact that Sombra is using a lot of them is certainly very helpful right now. And now we see the Volksdeutsche moving through, supported by these 20mm autocannon units, and honestly, they are chewing them up. The Airborne leader, they do have the Gammon Bomb, they use it to take out a half-track, but that is going to be the command going down. Sombra has brought in a bunch of infantry on this bottom side. Well, these are the 2 initial squads. One more reinforcing squad has arrived and the Stug 3's finally made it down here. Half-trackers come in with the IG-18 and 232. And all of the units that Sombra has at the moment just seem to be the perfect counter for the 6th Airborne. It's not really hard to counter the 6th Airborne. Anything with a decent amount of AP is a real struggle for the 6th Airborne to deal with in Phase A, because they have to rely quite heavily on static AT guns like this 6-pounder. And that's something that really does hold them back early on, because the Tetrarchs just can't really get the job done. You can bring in like a Tetrarch Little John, for example, if you want to take on some heavier armor, but in general the Tetrarchs will just die because they have too low armor themselves. Now the 232 did get taken out down here. Looks like that Gammon Bomb did the job. Volksdeutsche still pretty damn deadly against the remaining infantry though. But Morozik is holding on to the +1, and if this goes any similar to the last game, well, Morozik could win based on the fact that he is just holding on to that +1. It was something that he did in the last game very well, and something that he exploited in order to win the game. The Tetrarch versus 232. What's going to win? 232 is going to get the crew wound and finds the kill. At that range, plenty of AP to take out that armor of the Tetrarch, and yeah, the Tetrarchs just don't really do the job. Now, even though they got a price buff, like this Tetrarch for example only being 45 points, they are just pretty trash, and the reason for that is not only their terrible side armor, as you can see, but the 4 accuracy on their main gun makes these Tetrarchs, especially without any veterancy, do absolutely nothing. This Tetrarch CS is okay because it can pin down infantry very well, but at the moment it's in a pretty awkward position because the Stug just really can't do anything, or the Tetrarch can't do anything against the Stug even. Focke-Wulf 190 is going to come in for the strafing runs now as well. On this top side, Volksdeutsche take out that Tetrarch. 232 is going to be in line of sight of the Oxenbucks, and the Oxenbucks do find the kill. Oxenbucks can now try and engage the Volksdeutsche at close range, which is something that they should be quite efficient at since they do have the 8 HE versus the 5 HE of the Volksdeutsche. Oxenbucks do get a Piat shot onto the Stug 3 on the bottom side, but it causes an internal fire and not a kill, which is unfortunate for Morozik because taking out that Stug 3 would make pushing on the bottom side a lot easier. Tetrarch is managing to get out of there though, very very fast vehicle, even off-road, and that's what Morozik's Tetrarch is taking advantage of right now. So I mentioned the reliance on static AT in order to take out vehicles, and that's what Morozik has realised on this bottom side, so is bringing in another one of the 6-pounders and is maintaining this +1. And one thing I do foresee is if Morozik has invested in a lot of his elite infantry in the early game, there is potential that he will run out of infantry in the late game. Here comes the airborne leader, trying to get up close and personal with the Stug 3, throws the gammon bomb, gets the kill onto the Stug 3, lovely job there. Doesn't want to lose that though if he can help it, but the VulcanHDG going to be helping the airborne leader on its way to the afterlife, because that MG should rip him apart. Unless airborne Bren group come out of nowhere to cause a distraction, and the airborne leader hides itself. So, VulcanHDG doing a runner. Airborne flamethrowers brought in. Ox and Buck's trying to make some ground, but not quite getting the job done. We can see that the map is actually pretty open for Morozik at the moment. Especially with the Stug 3 going down on the bottom side. Half-track's now dead. There is potential for a lot of ground to be made. IG-18 is going to have to back off, otherwise it's going to get engaged at close range. And well, it's actually at +2 for Morozik. And I think he's just found decent sort of engagements due to Sombra being very aggressive with their forces. Ju-87 is going to come in, that cleans up one Tet truck CS. I'm going to assume that that's going to go for the second Tet truck CS, but hanging about with this Ju-87 is a little bit risky due to it being an airborne division that you are up against, and therefore fighters could definitely come in and try and shoot this down. But Sombra making the most of it for the time being. Takes out the Tet truck in one shot, lovely jubbly. Now might want to come down and take out this Tet truck on the bottom side. Looks like that's going to be the case, but the IG-18 is dead nonetheless. VulcanHDG are relatively pinned, but going to be on return fire, looking for the Panzerfaust shot onto the Tet truck. And I think the Tet truck, the line of sight here was briefly lost. Can the Ju-87 now come in and find the kill though? We'll have to wait and see, as a new Stug 3 is purchased and is on its way. Wow, first shot again. Ju-87 came in, took out 3 Tet trucks, leaves all of this infantry without support, and that's going to make it relatively difficult for Morozik to continue the push now, because any infantry that reveals itself will not only be shot at by the VulcanHDG, but also VulcanHDG supported by a Stug 3, and that means that Sombra can make back this ground on the bottom side, and is relatively stable elsewhere. You do see the IG-18s kind of holding the front line, and that's really useful for just making sure this infantry can't push, and that's just a problem that Morozik's going to continue to have unless a mortar is maybe brought in to provide some smoke and make some ground that way. But it's a very slow and laborious process in order to do that. So IG-18 continuing to hit the pack, did win that engagement. Pack was one shot from pinning the IG. Bren Group did manage to win out over the VulcanHDG, but looks like this force is going to be cut off. Doesn't particularly matter for morale in terms of the 6th Airborne, because they do have the wings, which means when they are surrounded, they do not get the morale penalty. However, this is not really good in terms of overall territory for Morozik. He's probably going to lose this +1 if he's not too careful. Half track does go down to the 6-pounder. 6-pounder is going to be immediately strafed by the Focke-Wulf 190. Stug 3 can probably get aggressive now and try and finish that off, which would be a good idea, because then the VulcanHDG would be free to engage the infantry with the support of the Stug 3. But Polston here, that's going to be advanced upon by the Pioneer Führer. Pioneer Führer has already used up its grenade though. Focke-Wulf 190 trying to take out those Bren Group, that's absolutely fine. And have also pinned the Pathfinders with the help of the IG-18. But currently we are seeing the 6th Airborne give a beating to the 1st SS, which is not something that I expected, honestly. But moving through the game, it's going to be just an abundance of air landing left for Morozik, and that's where things can get pretty damn dire. We do see a Polston come into the mid. That ends up actually getting taken out by the IG, so a complete waste. And air landing are starting to be relied upon, which is a bad sign. It means that infantry availability is already scarce, and that is just going to make things more and more difficult, especially considering Sombra is now investing in these Panzer IVJs to potentially support more Volksdeutsche in a push. So Pathfinders go down, they do not get retreated in the end. Panzer IVJ, you can see here, will open up with its machine guns, with its main gun, pins down the airborne powers so damn easy, and now the Volksdeutsche can just continue to push forwards. Pioneers can do as well, and although these airborne powers are pretty damn good at close range, they aren't good enough to stop a 20 HE power grenade blowing their face off. So that's something that Sombra can really try and take advantage in order to remove some of this more elite infantry. Ju-87 is coming in again. It's going to be trying to hit the Cromwell 5 here as it retreats up the main road. It does have rear armour facing though. Wow, there was 2 hits there and it didn't die. That is pretty damn lucky actually for the Cromwell 5. They get away with it this time around. Ju-87 though will most likely come round for another shot unless it can get out of line of sight. But currently the Aufklärer able to spot down the road there and see what's up. And with the Cromwell 5 retreating, Morozik doesn't really have much of a say in the matter where it heads, and the Ju-87 pops it and takes it out. So really nice use of the Ju-87 currently by Sombra. Has done a lot of damage in this game so far. And that could eventually add up to the point where these Volksdeutsche pushes and Pioneer pushes actually work. There's 2 Pioneers on the bottom side, supported by these vehicles, and all it takes really is for the Pioneers or the Panzergrens or Volksdeutsche even to spot the 6-pounder, and then the mortar can take it out, and then Sombra can move forwards the tank to support the infantry. So the half track there going to get hit by the 6-pounder. Tell Sombra exactly where it is. And that's all they need in order to push forwards with the Panzer IVJ and the Stug 3. Pioneer Führer here are doing a good job. Air landing are suffering quite a bit. You can see this half track, I think it just ripped apart an infantry squad as it tried to cross in the open. Pioneer Führers trying to use their grenades to take out the command carriers, do just about manage to do so. Air landing is going to try and move forwards and get a Panzerschreck or Piet's shot, onto the Panzer IVJ. Does manage to, but driver wounded is not going to be enough. Meanwhile, Typhoon comes in and takes out that half track. Air landing forced to fall back. Would have been nice to see air landing actually pay themselves off once. I find that air landing are probably one of the weakest units in the game at the moment. They have 7 men and they just are kind of trash. It's really, really irritating. Especially considering it's one of the only units you can get in the 6th Airborne moving into the latter phases of the game. 2 Gepards now on the way, and they are fantastic fire support against infantry, but I am very surprised here to see that the Panzer IVJ does get taken out by the 6-pounder. That is a big mistake from Sombra. That 6-pounder was spotted sooner, so getting overly aggressive with these vehicles is certainly something that has already bitten Sombra quite hard, and it just happened again right there. 6-pounder again, going to find a shot onto the half track. Easy kill. It is 3-star veterancy after all. But the 6-pounder has been advanced upon by the Pioneers now, and that 6-pounder has the potential to be taken out. Rifle leader, they're going to be pinned down by the Gepard. Panzer IVJ looking for line of sight as well. If that rifle leader gets taken out, then a little bit of ground is made back for Sombra, but really needs to get a move on if Sombra wants to win this game. Typhoon does come in with the bombing strike. Going to stop those Volksdeutsche finishing off the rifle leader for now, but doesn't prevent the Tri-Polston, or just the normal Polston, sorry, dying. But for Sombra, it's quite simply just a pioneer push with the tank. Should have also been with the Panzer IV, which would have been nice, but that went down. But look at this. Gepard's getting very, very aggressive, and that's something that I think Sombra has identified that they can do, because if you get the Gepard on target of enemy infantry, then that basically can demolish them, and the Gepard itself is armoured, so it's just difficult to kill with machine guns like from this command carrier, for example. So it's pretty much free to just wipe out as much infantry and stuff as it wants. This rifle leader, oh, it does manage to surrender. The Volksdeutsch is going to get into range of the Panzer IV-J. This could be very deadly for the Panzer IV-J. However, if the rifle leader miss, then they are toast, since that Panzer IV-J will have time to get on to target after that. But unlikely the rifle leader is going to miss at that range, had that Panzer IV-J given to it on a plate. And fantastic job by Morozik so far to really control this game. I'm very, very surprised. By the way, Stug 3 is going to be engaging the Tetrarch, taking that out. Was just an internal fire in the end, so that's going to be able to back off. And generally what you want to do in this situation is just have the Tetrarch sit behind the tree lines, not really go aggressive, because then you're forcing your opponent to make back the ground that they need in order to win the game. And, well, currently, Morozik is just going to win straight up. Now, these Typhoons did come in to contest the air, but they do have bombs as well, so they're going to be bombing out these IG-18s, possibly the Gepards as well. And that looks like exactly what Morozik went for, just to pin the Gepards. And that way, it allows the potential for other bombing strikes, but it didn't really pay off, since there's unlikely to be another airstrike following up from that. But in the town here, they're landing. Can they get their Piat on target? They can. And honestly, Gammon Bombs and Piat have both been relatively reliable this game for Morozik. We haven't seen many misses, which is actually quite something. The Universal Carrier, that's going to get the hell out of the way of the 6-pounder as it unloads in the face of the Stug 3. Stug 3, there's potential there for that to die, but the 6-pounder is stressed enough, and, well, Morozik in trouble, I feel. Because if this 6-pounder dies, then the Stug 3 is pretty free to push through on this bottom side with the Pioneers. For the mid, it's going to be an 88, I think. You see the 88 there, behind the Mortier. And here's the Stug, engaging on this bottom side. Has managed to take out the 6-pounder, cleaned up one of the infantry, and now we are just seeing air landing across the board, trying to make up for the holes in the front line, and it's something that the 6th Airborne will struggle with unless Morozik can maybe control the skies. Because with the 6th Airborne, I think it's one of those divisions that's like so damn dependent on its air force in order to do really well. And you could say that the 101st is similar, but the 101st does also have its artillery doctrine that it can utilise with the howitzers. Whereas the 6th Airborne doesn't really have that choice. They rely on their elite infantry and their air force, and that's pretty much it. It's very cut and dry. But looks like one of those carriers has gone down on the bottom side. Ju-87 takes out the Tetrarch. That means that the Stug 3 is quite happy to move up. Because otherwise, as the Stug 3 moves up, what's going to happen is the Tetrarch's going to come around the corner at close range, aim faster than the Stug, and possibly find the kill, which would be quite embarrassing for Sombra. But with now 2 Stugs on this bottom side, there is a lot of potential for ground to be made. And since we've moved into Phase C, there's all of the infantry availability that Sombra will need as well. Whereas Morozik is basically scraping the bottom of the barrel already with these air landing coming in here and there. So now we see 3 Typhoon bombers. One's going to be bombing the Gepard, one is bombing the half track here, and then we have one that also bombed the half track. It seems odd. Essentially you'd want to bomb the pioneers if you could see them, but there is no recon down here for Morozik, so it's going to be very difficult for Morozik to spot anything. It doesn't actually have recon at all on the map, which is something that you can't really overlook on a map like this, since it's very important to be able to see from one tree line to the next and identify what is there. Things like Panzer tracks on the side of the 1st SS, for example, or Piats on the side of the 6th Airborne. That's just the reason why recon is so damn important, because it can spot units that are potentially hidden in tree lines. But either way, Sombra's push has been successful, broken through on the bottom side. That puts Sombra at the 51% territory lead. Now can Sombra make back the ground in time? There is 17 minutes left on the clock, so Sombra should be able to start getting aggressive and really make quite a lot of ground in a short amount of time. Oh wow. Ju-87 bails out the Cromwell 5, ends up actually killing it. And this Ju-87 has been pretty damn important towards the outcome of this game, because although Morozik traded very well early on and found kills onto significant units, I'm just surprised to see Sombra doing the same thing, but even better. And that's just another example. In the centre of the map here we see the Challenger die to the Panzer IV-J, and yeah, Sombra's doing really, really well to sort of find those decent kills as well. And it's a similar scenario to the last game where both players are just trading, but one is trading slightly better than the other. And therefore, when it comes to this bottom side, it's completely open now. Air landing trying to make some ground. 6-pounder has been brought in and will be engaged by the 251. But with the air force that Sombra is relying upon at the moment, I think there's potential for this 6-pounder to just quickly die. Although I'm very surprised to see there that the carrier got focused before the 6-pounder. But I think that's because the Stug was out of line of sight of the 6-pounder, but not the carrier. Either way, Sombra has now got the +1, and due to the severe amount of infantry availability, 6th Airborne I think is definitely struggling right now. The 17-pounder can try and clean up this bottom side with the vehicles, but there really needs to be an investment into something that can stop the infantry, and currently I don't think there is. Morozik has just lost another unit of infantry in the centre. Paras are down to 2 men. And honestly, with the amount of like infantry cards that we saw in Phase A, there was like Airborne Bren Group, Oxenbucks, Airborne Paras. We also saw the command. It does make you wonder if maybe this division could have utilised a little bit more infantry availability across the board. But either way, Typhoons are going to come in and start bombing some of these units. They do manage to clean up the Gepard, which is nice, and take out a half-track. Now the Focke-Wulf has got onto the back of this Typhoon, though. I think it was just in range. I'm very surprised to see Sombra focus the 17-pounder when there wasn't really anything under threat. The Stug 3 did take weapon jam, but managed to get out of there, and the Pioneers are already running it down, so the Focke-Wulf could have definitely gone for a kill onto the aircraft. But you can see that Sombra, being quite cautious here, moves up the half track first, which is important because it reveals whether or not there's any AT in the area, and therefore the Panzer IV-Js can now push aggressively. On the bottom side, the air landing behind enemy lines finally gets spotted and killed off, and a +2 for Sombra, who will win in 13 minutes and 30 seconds. Didn't leave it too long in order to make the comeback, and after what was a difficult early game for Sombra, has recovered quite well, to the point where you have the double Stug combo on the bottom side. Yeah, it's not supported by any of the 20 more autocannon units anymore because they all died, but 2 Stugs can still get the job done, and that's exactly what they are doing with the help of these pioneers that are just charging on forwards. 6-pounder is going to be moved up to the mid briefly. Focke-Wulf 190 still flying about and doing its strafing runs. But I feel like at the moment it's only a matter of time. And I was going to say until Sombra starts to break through dramatically. But Morozik sees it coming, and after 27 minutes and 8 seconds is going to surrender. And honestly, I feel it comes down so much to that just that division choice. It was an interesting choice of strategy, honestly. The double Tetrarch CS on the bottom side supporting the elite infantry had potential, but it just kind of got blunted by the choke points and also the Stug 3. And that's something that was unfortunate for Morozik, because he did have the lead for like the majority of the game, but then at the end probably realized that he'd lost too much in order to keep up with the units of the first SS-Panzer. So if we jump over to the kills, well, Airborne leaders trying to do their job, Airborne powers. 6-pounder, that got quite a few kills, but no other standout units really. You can see that the Stug 3 did go down to the Airborne leader. That shouldn't really happen. And there was another kill as well, I think, that ideally shouldn't have happened. I think it was maybe one of the Panzer IVs. So that's something that Sombra needs to watch out for in the future. But in general, traded very well. And if we look at these losses, well, the 232 took out 2 Tetrarchs and multiple other things, paid itself off loads. JU-87 took out 6 tanks. That's going to be 4 Tetrarchs and 2 Cromwells. Focke-Wulf 190 cleaned up some of these AT guns, which is very important, and the IG-18s were doing a fantastic job against the infantry-based 6th Airborne. So if we jump over to team scores, 2,065 kills to 1,130 losses, sorry. And it's a significant KD. It's almost 2-to-1, so it makes sense as to why the situation became like it did. Both players trading, Sombra just that much more efficiently in this game. And it seemed like in the last game it went the opposite direction, where Morozik was making the better trades and Sombra was on the back foot. But that is it. And well, congratulations to Sombra for picking up the second game out of these 2 games between the 2. And that means they're going to tie on score for now, moving into the second round. But that is it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.